All right, starting with Jerami Grant. These are in no particular order. These are not the top 10 trade targets of 2024. They're in no order. I'm just going to grade each one as we go along. I grabbed a bunch of guys that I think are going to be trade targets from teams that nobody is thinking is going to win or giving up on their season and are trying to tank, trying to get back picks, trying to get assets because they want to be good in the following couple years, and they're not going to be good this year. And you may disagree with the teams that I've chosen. You may say, hey, I think they might be going for it. Leave a comment. I don't care. Well, I do care. That's what I'm saying. I appreciate you being here. Jerami Grant, 4 years left on his contract. That's a lot. That's 4 years after this year. And he's at $27 million, and that's this year. And it only goes up. Is it a max contract? No. Is it expensive? Yes. Is Jerami Grant worth it? He is a solid scorer, 21 points, on a bad team. His PER is 15.3. Keep in mind, PER is a evaluation of how good you are amongst every other player in the league. I've said it before, but the average for every player is 15. If you are 15 PER, you are an average player. So keep in mind, if a guy is below average, that means he's probably not a starter. And that's fine. Being below 15 PER does not mean you're bad. It just means you're probably not starting. So keep that in mind. It means you're below the average. There's 450 players in the league. You're in the lower percentile. That's what it means. But Jerami Grant is not. He is in the upper percentile. On a bad team, usually your PER is affected by how good your team is. So the fact that he is in the upper echelon or the upper percentile of players is a good thing. It means he does have value. Solid three-point shooter. He's shooting at a 41% clip from the three-point line. A lot of teams need that. A lot of teams would like that. The only really downside to Jerami Grant is he's on this big contract. That's literally it. It's just a very big contract for a long time. So if you do make a trade for Jerami Grant, that can be a good thing. If you want to commit to him, you have to commit to him. That's the thing. This guy is not a rental. This guy is not on his last year of his contract. You are committing to him for a decent amount of money for a long time. He has to be a big part of your team. He doesn't rebound. That's another thing to consider. Solid scorer, doesn't really rebound, good defender, almost getting a steal a game. Turnovers aren't crazy, like 2 turnovers a game. Not bad. Not bad for an SG. So, Jerami Grant, what's his grade? I gave him a B. Someone will grab him. It all depends what you're giving up for the player. I don't think people are going to give up a whole lot for Jerami Grant, so I imagine he's going to be a B. If he does get traded, maybe Portland will keep him. I don't know. Maybe they're like, hey, he's good. We want to have him here for 4 years. We think we can be good in a pretty soon amount of time. And also keep in mind, I think with the new CBA, you actually have to spend the entire salary, all your cap space. You have to spend the whole salary cap, which is good. If you're a business, CJ McCollum, the president of the Players Association, negotiated that, which makes total sense. You should, because that's how the money's split. They should be able to spend all their money, all that cap space. You have to spend it because that's half the basketball-related income. So they got to spend it. They might spend it on Jerami Grant. Deonte Murray, he's another one people are talking about. They're saying the Hawks are going to give up on their season. I don't necessarily think so. I feel like every year the Hawks come out and they underdeliver at the beginning of the season. Everyone's like, oh, the Hawks, they're not going to be good. They should trade away their players. They're not going to be successful. Trae Young's not good enough. He's a faucet on defense. And then every year, Trae Young brings them into the playoffs and makes them competitive. And I think that's, on my other channel, I've criticized Trae Young's defense before. But I have to say, I still think he's an underrated player just because he can get you there. With so many players who you have high expectations for, have so much raw talent and potential, Trae Young gets you to the playoffs, and you have to respect that. Even if you don't like his defense, he gets you to the playoffs. So, are they going to trade Deonte Murray? I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think it's a good idea because I got a feeling Trae Young is the king of the play-in tournament, and he's going to get you in the playoffs. But if they do, he has 4 years left on his contract. This is a fresh contract. Right now, he's on a cheaper contract, but the next 4 years, 25 to 30 million, again, around the Jerami Grant type money and the same length of a contract. You're going to be committed to Deonte Murray. If you trade for him, he's on your team for a while. He is a hothead. Remember last year he body checked a ref and he couldn't play in one of those playoff games in which the Hawks actually beat the Boston Celtics without Deonte Murray. So that's something to consider if someone's trading for Deonte Murray. The Hawks were better without him for a game, whatever. You know, maybe they just had a good game, good shooting night, but nevertheless, maybe don't need him to win. Good defender. I believe he's been on an all-defensive team. He's been an all-star. Plays a lot. Played in 42 games, 34 minutes a game. Nothing to shake a stick at. He's definitely a valuable asset that someone could pick up if the Hawks are willing to trade him. Again, people are going to be asking him for a lot for Deonte Murray, I assume. But he's a B+. He's a little bit better than Jerami Grant. I would probably go for him over Jerami Grant if I were, a team that needed a wing. I think so. So Alex Caruso is next. 1 year left on his contract, and it's non-guaranteed, which is, you're probably going to keep him. So you have this year, and then you have the following year, and it's a $10 million deal for each year. He's paid $10 million is his salary. And it's non-guaranteed for next year, which would probably mean about halfway through the season, the Bulls would have the decision, provided he's on the Bulls, would have the decision, do we want to keep him or you can cut him and not have to pay him that last half of the year. That's usually what a non-guaranteed contract is. So he's probably guaranteed for half the year. Again, it doesn't really matter. You're going to keep him. It's a cheap contract for a guy who's playing really well. Again, above average PER, about around what Jerami Grant is. Again, on a bad team. So he is delivering. He is a good player, and he's a hustler. He's always up there on the hustle stats. I don't need to tell you that Alex Caruso plays really hard. But he's getting that 15.4 PER, so he's slightly above average NBA player, but he is going up against the second units of most team. Something to consider. So he's getting 25 minutes a game, 10 points a game out of 25 minutes. Again, we all know Alex Caruso is not like a crazy good scorer. His three-point percentage is way better than it was in the past couple years. 41%. He's valuable. People are going to target him, but the Bulls probably aren't going to give him up. I would doubt. Maybe they may wait. They may say, it depends. This is going to be a big trade deadline for the Bulls. They're either going to clean house or they're going to keep everyone, is my opinion. Because there's no sense in trading Zach LaVine, trading Caruso, and keeping DeRozan. So let's see what I gave him. A-. This is a good pickup. He's going to go for a lot. I got a feeling he's going to go for a first-round pick, I would assume. We'll see. Again, I am not Zach Lowe. I'm Joey Bertoft. Dorian Finney-Smith. So he's like everyone wants a 3-and-D guy. That's what every team is missing. Oh, they're just one piece away. Piece. Sounds like, I always think that's so funny when people describe guys as pieces. It's always a Dorian Finney-Smith type. A 3-and-D guy. 39% from 3. It's not incredible, but it is good. It is worth picking up. He has 2 years left on his contract. He's paid $14 million. Not a crazy contract. 2 years left. You can kind of decide what you want to do with it. If he delivers, great. If he doesn't, you only have 2 years left on it. And he's pretty cheap. $14 million is not crazy. Salary cap's like, what, $130 million, $140 million? It's nothing. Doesn't matter. Shoots threes, plays defense. 6-man tops, though. Again, 28 minutes a game. That's around what Caruso is playing. And 10.6 PER, so he is a below average player. And the Nets are better than the Bulls. They have a better record, so that's definitely something to consider. The fact that Caruso has a way higher PER than Dorian Finney-Smith, and the Bulls are worse than the Nets. Dorian Finney-Smith is a worse... He should go for less than Alex Caruso, is what I'm assuming, if the Nets do decide to make some moves to pass on the season, which I think they're going to do. Gave him a C. Still pretty good. Someone will grab him. Someone will grab him for like a couple second-round picks, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Bogdan Bogdanovic, okay? 1 year left on a non-guaranteed contract, just like Caruso, so you only have to pay him for next year. You have to pay him this year, and then you only have to pay him next year. And if you don't like him, if he gets injured or something, snip. You can cut him. You don't have to pay him for the second half of the year. He's paid $20 million, though. Bojan's kind of expensive, for a role player, or he's more expensive than a lot of the guys that we've mentioned before. 13.5 PER on a terrible team. So is he a below average player? Yes, but his team is terrible, so that's going to bring it down. 13.5 on a historically atrocious team. I'm going to be honest with you. Bojan is good. That's incredible that he can have a PER almost to the average player on being on a team that is just taking L after L after L. Keep that in mind. He's okay. Well, I'm going to wait to tell you my grade. 3-point machine can play solid minutes, 33 minutes a game. He's only played 21 games this season. I wasn't sure if he was maybe he was out. Maybe he had an injury. Maybe they just weren't playing him. I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. But either way, he's playing now. His past 5 games, he's had really good stats. He's getting 19. Well, let's round it up. 20 points a game on a team that just keeps on taking L's. He's an A. He might be the best person on my list. Andre Drummond. Man, I talk about Andre Drummond all the time, but I'm going to make the case for why a team should trade for him. It'll be interesting to see because he will be in high demand because he's on a league minimum. He's paid $3 million a year. And one thing that's kind of interesting is remember that if you're on a veteran minimum contract, the NBA will actually pay part of your salary, so the team doesn't actually have to pay it. It doesn't really matter towards the salary cap because minimum contracts you can go over. That's an exception. Minimum contract exceptions. You can go over the salary cap signing minimum contracts, so it doesn't really matter. So he's a total rental, though, because this is the last year of his contract. He is a free agent at the end of the season. You get him for this season. And I got a feeling he's going to want money next year. So, but you don't have to keep him. I would keep him. He's playing well. So he's playing 16 minutes a game, averaging 8.4 rebounds a game. If you doubled it and played 32 minutes, which would be, a little less than a starter would normally play, he'd be averaging 17 rebounds a game. Something to consider. He's getting 7 points, 7.6 points. He's doing well. So there are a lot of teams that need size. Oklahoma City needs someone. Chet's kind of scrawny. They need a bigger, sort of beefier rim protector, especially if you're going up against guys like Jokic. I think Andre Drummond could really help them out. Again, Sabonis, smaller guy. They could use another backup big in Sacramento. There are a lot of teams that could use him. So 23.5 PER. Remember that. That's crazy. That's like star NBA player levels of PER. He's way above 15. Remember, 15 is the average. But I must say, atrocious 3-point shooter. He's really bad. Did I say 3-point shooter? I meant free throw shooter. His free throw shooting, oops, I already gave away the grade. His free throw shooting is 55.6%. Yo, meaning when he goes to the line, it's almost 50-50 whether he makes the shot or not. It's not great. I don't know. Some big men are great at shooting free throws. Anthony Davis, great free throw shooter. Joel Embiid, great free throw shooter. Giannis, not a great free throw shooter. Nikola Jokic, incredible free throw shooter. So it used to be like people would say, oh, their hands are so big, it's hard. Nope, that doesn't make sense. So he's an A. Someone should pick him up, and he shouldn't go for a lot. He's going to go for a second-round pick or something like that. A couple second-round picks, maybe an unprotected first, like a bad unprotected first, like an unprotected first from a good team that's going to be a very low pick in the draft, potentially. That's what I think. It would suck if he just ended up a Bull and played out the rest of the season, didn't make the playoffs. In my opinion, Andre Drummond should be on a team that wants to win. I like him. Rozier, 2 years left on his contract, $25 million. He's a high-paid player. He makes a lot of money. He got an extension with the Hornets, I believe. He's not a great three-point shooter. He's at 36%. What you really want is 40% from the three-point line. That's a great three-point shooter, but he's at 36. Round up to 37. 35 minutes a game, 23 points. He's a scorer. Again, he's kind of a little bit empty calorie guy. Decent rebounder for a guard. He gets 4 rebounds a game. So PER is weirdly good, though, for a really bad team, 19.3. Again, remember, 15 is the average, so he's above average player. And PER is sort of the silver bullet to figuring out a guy's value, in my opinion. Even though if you look at Terry Rozier's stats, it's hard to say that he's good, is what I would say. He'll go somewhere. Let's see what I gave him. B+. Why'd I give him? I think it's the PER. I gave him a good rating because of the PER. Yeah, let's see where he goes. Any older player I want, or any veteran player should go to. You got to get rid of these guys. You got to send them to places that want to win. Malcolm Brogdon. People have been talking about him getting traded forever since he left the Celtics, since he was traded from the Celtics for J. Rue Holiday. Portland has no interest in being good. They have got to get rid of Jerami Grant, hopefully, and Malcolm Brogdon. He only has 1 year left on his contract. Hopefully Portland can get a first-round pick for him. He's paid $22 million, but again, your salary doesn't matter if you only have 1 year left on your contract. Who cares? 17.3 PER on a bad team. Like I said, Malcolm Brogdon is an above-average player, and he can really do some good for some teams. The only thing is he is injury-prone. He's played 32 games this season, so he's been relatively healthy. His usage is pretty good. He's a good backup point guard. He's solid. Someone should grab him, but he's not going to change a team. He's not going to change anyone's season. I got to be honest, but someone should pick him up as their backup and only their backup point guard. He's an A. He's an A. Someone's going to give up a first rounder at least, maybe unprotected for him. That's my theory. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts because I'd like to know. Maybe I'm way off base here. Maybe I'm overvaluing Malcolm Brogdon. Here's the thing. Let's be honest. Zach LaVine is the hottest guy on the trade market. He's been on the trade market for a long time. No one's trading for him, though. Isn't this interesting? He's a star. He's been an all-star. He's a star player, great dunker, super handsome. Not having a great scoring year. He's averaging less than 20 points a game. Usually he's in the 25s. That's kind of his thing, and he's not scoring a lot. And that's what you want him to do. He's got 3 years left on his contract, and he's paid plus $40 million. He's crazy expensive. You're going to pay a lot for Zach LaVine. His stats aren't great. He's a poor three-point shooter this year. He's at 35%, a little bit less than 35% from the three-point line. That's the worst of any of the players I've mentioned so far. And he's had an injury this season. He's an average player, 15.2 PER, lower than Alex Caruso, his teammate, and Andre Drummond, his teammate. So I got to be honest with you. Any GM that trades for Zach LaVine, I would question their competency because I assume the Bulls aren't going to give him up for very little. They're not going to give him away. So someone's going to pay a lot for Zach LaVine, and they're going to regret it. So I got to tell you, he's a D-. Zach LaVine is going to go for a lot, and I don't think he's going to really get anyone anywhere towards the end of the season. I think, unless he really turns on his scoring, but he's never been a great defender. And so on my other channel, I've talked about him before. I used to do a lot more like spreadsheet analysis of him, and it was pretty glaringly clear to me that Zach LaVine was sort of an overvalued guy who has had some really giant scoring games, which have given him a reputation of being a walking bucket, which he's not. So it's unfortunate. I think someone will grab him. And he seems like a really good guy. I've heard him in interviews and stuff, and he's fun. So as much as it might be cool, he would sell tickets and he would look good on billboards. I will say that. Last guy is Jordan Clarkson. Okay, so Jazz, Danny Ainge, he doesn't want to be good. I think he's the type of guy that will just trade to get first-round picks and accumulate. He'll, brag about a trade exception. He got a trade exception from the Gordon Hayward deal when he was the GM of Boston, and apparently he would, brag about the trade exception that he got, even though it expired and no one used it, I believe. So he kind of puts... he sort of wins the battle, loses the war, in my opinion. He gets small victories but never wins a championship. But he's a good GM. He's a smart guy. It's just kind of a funny thing to think about, being happy about a trade exception when you lose in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's just funny. 2 years after this one, $14 million. He's cheap. He's actually paid a lot more this year, but his extension, he's actually lowered his salary because he knows, it's the end. He's a sixth man. He's a sixth man of the year. He's still good. He's a chucker, though. 31% from three-point. That's not good. It's actually pretty bad. And he shoots almost 6 a game. It's not good enough for him to be shooting that much. His PER is below average. And again, the Javs are almost average at this point. So Clarkson might be another sort of Zach LaVine type where it feels like, we're going to get this guy in. He's going to be our sixth man. And he's just going to drain threes constantly. And it's going to really help out our team. That's what I imagine people are thinking. And he turns the ball over. He gets 3 turnovers a game, which for a guy playing, 30 minutes a game, I guess he's starting. It's not terrible, but it's also not good. Averaging. It's average. We'll say that. We won't ding him for that, but let's see what I gave him. A C. Honestly, I wouldn't trade for him. Because here's the thing. At the deadline, GMs ask for way too much. If there's any talk or any interest, it's like when you're selling a house or you're selling anything on Craigslist or something. You, as the person that owns it, think it's worth more than what people are willing to pay for it. So I got a feeling a lot of these guys are going to stay put. It's just not going to happen. They're going to maybe get bought out. I don't know. I'm not sure. That's my theory. But yeah, that's all of them. So thank you for being here. Be good to your man, my bitch.